Elks and I'm a steward in St Chad's Church. I'm actually not from Stafford, I'm from Newport, but I used to work in the library in Stafford, and when I retired I was asked if I'd got some spare time to spend showing people around St Chad's. After some hesitation I said yes, of course I had, and I've loved showing people around for the last 2 years. The screen here is 1910. Done by somebody called Walter Tapper, Sir Walter Tapper. And it's got Bible scenes in the middle and then local saints on the outside. And the St Chad is the one on the left-hand side.
So that's the Victorian window?
Yeah.
Stained glass window. So that window was 2003?
Yeah.
And who
that
designed
was actually
that?
done by Hardman's in Birmingham. But this is a lovely 1930s lectern. And every time I come past here, I can't resist stroking the feathers. In the arch, there are animal heads and bird heads, like the figures that support the arch. So, among the figures that support the arch are owl heads and bird heads, which are known as beak heads, and various animal figures, some of which we don't know what they are at all. And also the same idea as in the idea of the three monkeys. So you've got this little man here with his hand to his mouth, so he's saying no evil, and the little man here with his hands to his ears, so that he's hearing no evil. So there's a nice little head down here as well. And he's called the mouth puller. He's pulling faces at you and saying, "Who do you think you are? You don't know very much, really." We don't know what this one is at all. It may be David and Goliath, but if it is, why is Goliath smiling? All the carving here is original, and people who'd been visiting the Staffordshire Hall said the design was very similar to that. So you've got lots of carving on top of all these columns. And some of them are dragons and animals, various animals, animal heads, all sorts of strange and wonderful things. But among those are two green men. So one is actually here on the top of the column next to the organ. See the head looking down at you?
Oh yeah, on the corner?
Yeah.
Right. Now I wouldn't have noticed that. I would not have seen that.
He might be what they call a feline.
Okay, and what's that?
Which is a cat head or a lion's head rather than a male head.
Right.
But it's all comes under the category of green men.
And what's the story of the Green Man?
Various versions. There's one story that was popularised in the 19th century, which is that he's the pagan fertility symbol and taken over by the church, like the church took over things like Christmas and Easter and gave them a Christian meaning. Mm-hmm. Another version of him might be that he's actually a return to Greek and Roman ideas. The Greek and Roman authors like Ovid and Virgil wrote of Arcadia as a sort of perfect green land, and those ideas went to the Arabs and were then circulated in Europe later on when the churches were being built. So it may be a sign that that's actually come back and it's a return to classical. When we say pagan, we sometimes think that's little men in green skirts in the South Seas, but it isn't necessarily, it can just mean pre-Christian. So that would be Ovid and Virgil.
This is another Green Man?
Yeah.
Right. You see, I would never have spotted that.
He's a savage green man and he's quite near to the altar. It's a bit unusual that he's near to the altar like that.
And why do you think he's near the altar?
No, I did. Well, some people think that it's to keep evil spirits away.
What do these dragons signify?
Various ideas about those as well. One thing that they could signify is a circle of life, because the tail is in the mouth.
Yeah.
And you're all right as long as the tail stays in the mouth. If the mouth drops the tail, you might have a problem.
We've got another Green Man there.
There's another head there. He isn't actually a green man. He's another nice little head, though. Some of the children call him Father Christmas.
Because of the beard?
Uh-huh.
And there's one on the other side.
And then round behind Father Christmas is what they call a tongue puller. Can you see him?
Oh yeah, he's got his tongue out.
He's sticking his tongue out at the priest.
And why is that?
That's because the stonemason's got a sense of humour. And so also has the priest. The priest can turn to the head and say, "What do you think of my service so far?" And the head says... The other thing that we've got up here is what they call the Orm inscription.
Okay.
So you'll see these two columns here. Above the columns is more of a fantastic carving, and on top of that is a slab with some carving on it, and underneath the slab is writing in Latin.
Mm-hmm.
And the writing in Latin says, "Orm vocatur qui me condidit."
And what does that mean?
Condidit scrawled around the corner because I haven't quite got enough room for it.
Well, what's the translation?
And it means, "He is called Orm, who founded me."
Okay, and who was Orm?
Orm was the name of the person that owned the land around here and started the church. And it's the same word as worm, and it means, it can mean a sort of sea monster or serpent or snake or something like that. If you go to London, now you'll see the great Orm and the little Orm. Mm-hmm. If you go to the Gower by Swansea, you'll see Worm's Head. And it's both in the shape of monsters going out to the sea.
Right.
But it can also mean dragon. And this is the church talking to you and saying, "I was founded by Lord Dragon." And we have our dragon sculptures, and there's lots of dragons in our old sculptures as well. We've got a griffin there, which is a cat with a beak. And then you've got that one, which could be a dolphin or a fish or a mermaid or anything you want it to be.
So no one knows exactly what it is.
And they did some dragons as well over here. And they thought they'd have another version of a green man as well. Now this is the Lady Chapel.
Okay.
And it has a nice statue of Our Lady in the corner. It's part of the Victorian rebuild of this side of the church. But it has features from all the periods as well. So it has the shape round the altar, which was done in the 1930s, and the cloth behind the altar was done in 2011 by a group of Yoxall ladies called Yoxall Community Crafts. This is a design by Putin.
Mm-hmm. And is that the Lamb of God in the middle?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. It's a funeral pall.
Who made this window here?
Oh, well, it was made in memory of George Arthur Rowe, who was a priest in the church for 20 years. This is an old Sanctus bell. It's no longer in use, it's been cracked.
And this font looks very old as well.
Yeah, we don't know how old the font is really. The top of it is 1930s. Okay. Nicely cut in the 1930s. Mm-hmm. But the bottom of it, the guidebook says it's Victorian restoration, but I'd like it to be older than that. I can't help thinking it is.